Regent Street, in the heart of London's West End, has for hundreds of years been a centre for businesses trying to turn a profit. Nowadays, companies are increasingly setting wider priorities, including the welfare of their staff, their suppliers, and the planet. But as they rebalance the profit-centred model, what will that mean for their business? John Mackey is the co-founder and co-chief executive of Whole Foods Market, an American food retailer which in 35 years has gone from a single store in Texas to a chain with 80,000 employees and an annual turnover of $12 billion. But Mr. Mackey is not your average corporate leader. He believes that businesses should pursue more than just their bottom line, that they should, as he puts it, have a higher purpose. He's created a movement around this ethos called Conscious Capitalism.
Conscious capitalism is primarily doing business in a more conscious way. And we identify 4 key tenets to it. One, that every business has the potential to have a higher purpose besides only making money. Secondly, that it should create value for all of the interdependent stakeholders, not just the investors, so customers, employees, suppliers, investors. Third, that there's a different type of leadership that's focused on that higher purpose of the business and is serving the stakeholders. And fourth, you have to create a culture in the organization that allows people to flourish, that helps them to reach their higher potentials in life.
Of course, this isn't the first attempt by companies to look beyond their duty to make money for shareholders. Corporate social responsibility has been in vogue for some years. Mr. Mackey, however, sees his particular strain of capitalism as more of a break from many companies' strict focus on profit, although he admits that it isn't an easy model to adapt.
The profit-centered business model is very simple. It's just, how do we make more money? And to think about fulfilling your higher purpose and making more money is certainly, it's a little more difficult and a little more complex.
It's a big challenge for any business to try and turn a profit and ensure benefits for everyone involved. These problems become even more pronounced as the business grows. Neals Yard Dairy began its life in 1979 as a small London cheesemaker. It now specialises in selling about 550 tonnes of British and Irish cheeses to the world each year.
A couple of years ago, one of our suppliers got into trouble in terms of the quality of the cheese that they were making. And when we went up to reduce the order, he said, well, who am I supposed to sell it to? At which point we worked out that we were selling roughly 90% of his production. We lent him money. We helped him find an outlet for that cheese. We let the credit against that cheese run for an extremely long time, years. If we hadn't helped him, he would have stopped making cheese, and we would have been down one more territorial cheese.
It cost Neals Yard Dairy money, but by looking out for their supplier in the short term, the company ultimately strengthened its business's position. But what about really big companies?
One of the bases of this is the belief that particularly the very large international companies are very, very powerful and that the directors have huge discretion. But actually the evidence for this is not that great. The truth is that businesses and their directors, even the very largest businesses, have far less room for manoeuvre than those who espouse profit-sacrificing corporate social responsibility seem to understand.
What is clear, though, is that a business that fails to make money is no good to anyone. Lush, the ethical cosmetics manufacturer and retailer, is faced with the profit versus principle dilemma every time it puts a new product on its shelves.
You've got to have the profit to drive those things. Some of those are principles for us, so we won't move away from them. If they endanger our profit or reduce our profit, we tend to stick with the principles. That's always, a tough debate, but we tend to stick to that. But we're very profit focused as well. We're a business. You've got to have that piece in there, and we've got a statement we believe, and part of that is we believe in making a profit.
Conscious capitalism is a movement with momentum. Startups, smaller companies, and even a few larger ones like Whole Foods have adopted its principles. But can the biggest listed companies afford to do so? Given their deep foundations in shareholder value and self-interest, I have my doubts. Andrew Hill, Financial Times, London.